everyone, welcome back. It's Moa, aka Swedish Whiskey Girl, and today I thought I'd talk a bit about the Scotch Malt Whisky Society. Before I started this series of Support Your Local videos here on YouTube, I asked on my Instagram what brands people associated the most with Edinburgh, and the Scotch Malt Whisky Society came up. They of course have their kind of headquarters down in Leith here in Edinburgh, where there was kind of their first venue, and to this day it's a really wonderful place to visit if you're a member. And I've of course already done a big video on what is the Scotch Malt Whisky Society, so if you are new to it or you want to learn more, feel free to check out that video as well. But this video I thought I'd talk a bit about it in a different way. So I'm going to review one of their rums, but I thought it would be fun just to have a little quick chat, because I usually get the question, which distillery do you think is the best? Is there one that you have as a favourite? And I actually do have two favourite numbers, if you say that, in the society. So the way they've built it up is of course that you have a number for each distillery, and if it's a rum you have R in front of the number, and then of course the first rum distillery you would have bottled liquid from is of course number 1, so it would have been the first rum you bottle is R1, and then of course the cask number after that, so it could be the first ever rum would have been R1.1. So I thought I'd talk a bit about my favourite distillery, the whiskey distillery that I have, and then the rum one as well. Let's do a little taste of that one. So when it comes to the whiskies, there's of course I think 145 different distilleries now that they're working with. And some of them are harder to get a hold of and some of them are a little bit easier to get a hold of. But every time, and actually the distillery I have at home the most from the society is distillery 35, which is Glenmory, a distillery up in Speyside located in Elgin. You see quite a lot of society bottlings from distillery 35, and they're usually really good. I don't think I've ever had a society bottling from distillery 35 and been disappointed. The ones I have at home is Nutty Mocha Frappuccino, it is Sweet Apples with a Marzipan Core, and the St. Bernard's Barrel. So it is 2 bourbon cask matured whiskies and 1 red wine influenced. So they're some of my favourites, and that is the distillery I keep going back to just for the reason that I think it's always a really nice one. I would of course love to hear what your favourite distillery is, if you have one. I know it's a super tough choice, and if I have to choose one it's distillery 35, but I'm always curious to try other ones as well. Another one that I think is really intriguing, and if you're looking for a big range of different flavours, is distillery 93, which is Glen Scotia. Glen Scotia of course does peated and unpeated. You can find lightly peated and sometimes they're oily and coastal, so a lot of really different ones. Some of the unpeated ones have been some of my favourites because they're quite dense and quite fruity, and they remind me of the Glen Scotia double cask on steroids. So if you're looking for a big variety, I would check that distillery out as well. And I know there's a lot of people that like the sherried ones, the peated ones, but never underestimate a good bourbon cask as well. So please let me know in the comments which distillery is your favourite. But then of course we also have cognac, armagnac, rum and gin. And if I'm completely honest, I haven't yet found a favourite number or distillery when it comes to the cognacs or the armagnacs or the gins, even though the ones I've tried have been really lovely. But I do have a favourite amongst the rums, and this makes me so excited to talk about, because so it's R9, which is a Panamanian rum, is that how you say it? It's a rum from Panama, from Varela Hermanos, or Ron Abuelo, yeah. So I'm much better at French than I am at Spanish. But this is a distillery. I've never tried a rum that is an official bottling from the distillery itself. But the first time I had this rum, I was in love. And I also realised today, when I had a quick little nose of this before I recorded, that I've been lying about it for 2 years. So the first time I had this rum was when I was with friends in a little pop-up bar at the Fringe Festival, I think in George Square here in Edinburgh, because of course the Fringe Festival is a big happening every year here in the city, and of course cancelled this year unfortunately. but it's a lot of kind of, I think it's the world's largest arts festival. And yeah, it's just so crazy. There's so many people, and sometimes you absolutely hate it because you can't go anywhere, and sometimes you just love it because you get the opportunity to see a lot of entertainment and shows and stuff like that. And we went to this little pop-up bar for SMWS, and I think that's actually the first time we became members as well. But I wanted something sweet. I was in a really sweet mood. I just wanted something nice and sweet. And Hannah, who I have met a little bit more today, and she still works for the society, she poured me this. And this is Caramel Custard Donut, R9.3. And I was blown away. I think if I have to say one flavour experience from the society that really wowed me, it's probably this one. I'm very surprised it's not a whiskey, but it's, yeah, it just kind of captured my heart straight away. I thought it was like vanilla ice cream, but I realise now that that is not true. It is exactly like the ice cream in Sweden called Sundborn Punch, which is a vanilla ice cream which is also flavoured with punch. And punch is a alcoholic beverage which has been spiced with arak. And let's see if I can get this right. So arak is a fermented and distilled alcoholic beverage made from either rice or sugar cane molasses, and also juice from the flower of the coconut palm tree. Maybe. It's a little bit tricky. Look it up. I'll put it here somewhere to make sure that I've got it right. But you can flavour, like if you're baking something, if you're making ice cream. It's my favourite ice cream. It used to be my favourite as a child as well. And I think that's exactly why I'm so excited about this whiskey. About this rum, of course. And it's a kind of a historic spice. And it was quite exotic, and I mean, in the army, you have a little shot of punch. I have flag punch here at home. It's really, really nice, very sweet. And then you have a pea soup on Thursdays. It's kind of a tradition. And my dad works for the military, so it's kind of a thing that I've also kind of been in the family. I know I had a bottle at home sitting on my shelves in my room that I had before I moved abroad. And one day I just got a note from my mum saying we stole some of your punch because it's Thursday, which is quite sweet. But yeah, we are going to have a little review of this rum now. But please let me know what is your favourite rum from the society. Let's start by having a nose. Oh, actually, before we do, this is an 11-year-old. It was distilled in January 2006. It's from a refill barrel because, of course, the rums are also single cask. And it says a 60.8% ABV. And it is a sweet little treat. It's just, it makes me think of ice cream straight away. It doesn't have the, probably because the alcohol content's so high, but it doesn't straight away feel like it's this kind of punch, which is so sweet and dense and different in a character, almost like a liqueur. But it still feels alcoholic, and it still feels like almost a bit more fresh. The rum character is still there because it is sweet. It's that influence of the kind of punch, vanilla ice cream note. I just love it. But let's have a little sip. Slanjava. And the flavour is so lovely. It still has that influence of arak, which I think is more dominant on the palate, but it also has an oakiness, a kind of dry sensation to it. Yeah, and vanilla there as well, because it does make me think of this combination of the vanilla ice cream with the arak spice. And I know that there might be a lot of people watching this that have no idea what punch is, what arak is, what a Swedish ice cream is called Sundborn Punch. But this is the only way I can describe it because it's so overwhelmingly that for me. Like maybe a bit of cloves, like that kind of spice as well. And I think even though it's 60%, it sits so nicely there. I am going to add a little bit of water just to see what it's like, but it's I definitely think you can just drink it like this. Almost a little bit more floral and oaky on the nose now. More of that vanilla ice cream. A little bit denser, a little bit more oaky, and a little bit drier, so the oakiness really comes out. It makes it seem a little bit more dry, but still with this wonderful flavour underneath. I'm very curious, have you tried R9, the rum from SMWS? If you have, please let me know your thoughts and see how they differ to mine, because of course this is my way of describing it. But I'm curious to see what someone who hasn't tried Arak or doesn't associate to that thinks of it. And of course, what is your favourite rum from SMWS? I love the idea that they don't just do whiskey, that they do, of course, all the international whiskies, the cognacs, the armagnacs as well. It's just a fun way to explore flavour. And of course, if you like what I'm doing here on YouTube and my other social channels, I would be absolutely over the moon if you consider using my affiliate links the next time you're shopping with either the Scotch Malt Whisky Society, the Whisky Exchange, or a Master of Malt. All of those links are in the description here below, as well as links to my website, my Teespring shop, my Patreon, and my Instagram if you're curious about that. As always, a massive thank you to my wonderful supporters on Patreon. I'm so grateful that you guys want to continue to support me on my whiskey journey. I hope you've all had an absolutely wonderful day. Slán Skål.